Yo, what's up fam? Before the story gets wild, make sure you smash that like button and hit subscribe because this one is straight up chaos. I'm talking full-blown HOA Karen meltdown mode. She tried to control my family, my kids, my life, but she had no idea she picked a fight with the wrong dude. And by the end of this story, let's just say, I took down the entire HOA with her. The morning we moved into Willow Creek, the sun was barely rising, casting a soft gold across the neat little rows of manicured houses. My wife looked relieved, happy even. After years of saving, years of cramped apartments and noisy neighbors, we finally had a home where our kids could grow up peacefully. At least, that's what we thought. I remember unloading the first box when I saw her. Arms crossed, sunglasses on, lips pursed like she tasted something sour. She didn't smile. She didn't wave. She just stood at the edge of her driveway, observing us like a prison warden getting new inmates. I didn't know it yet, but that woman, Karen Bradley, was about to become the biggest nightmare my family had ever seen. Before long, she marched toward us with the stiff confidence of someone who believed the world worked for her. She didn't introduce herself. She inspected us. She eyed our moving truck, our boxes, even the shoes my daughter was wearing. And then, without a single welcome to the neighborhood, she said, "Your grass is 2 inches too high. HOA requires 1 3/4." I thought she was joking. I laughed. She did not. That first day, she handed us 6 printed pamphlets of HOA guidelines, regulations so strict they looked like they were drafted by the Pentagon. My wife whispered nervously, "Please, just stay calm. We just got here." So I swallowed my irritation and nodded politely. But Karen wasn't done. Not even close. Within a week, violation letters began piling up. Trash can too visible. Car slightly angled. Your kid's chalk art is not allowed. Holiday lights too bright. Mailbox slightly dusty. She fined us for things we didn't even do. I tried going to the HOA board, but she was the board, the president, treasurer, and secretary. She practically ran the whole neighborhood. She even bragged about it. My kids grew scared of playing outside because she yelled at them for ruining the aesthetic. She told my wife that her garden pots lower property values and suggested we take a community-approved decorating class. She once walked into our yard without permission and rearranged our patio furniture to meet HOA compliance. That was the moment something shifted in me. One afternoon, after she screamed at my 7-year-old for riding her scooter too fast, I felt something burn inside me. Not anger, not annoyance, something deeper, something protective. No one messes with my kids. I decided to stop reacting and start watching. For weeks, I observed Karen. I noticed patterns. She acted big, loud, and powerful, but only in front of people who didn't push back. She loved control, loved fear, loved using HOA rules as weapons. But one night, as I drove home late, I saw something that changed everything. Karen's backyard, normally hidden by her 6-foot privacy fence, had bright construction lights shining over it. And behind that fence was a whole illegal outdoor shed, a structure twice the size allowed. It wasn't approved, and she knew it, because the next morning, it was covered with a tarp, like she was hiding a body. If she could break the rules, she could be exposed for breaking them. That night, I printed out the HOA bylaws she loved throwing at us. I studied every line, every clause, every technical detail. I found loopholes. I found contradictions. And more importantly, I found things she was violating. Not little things, big things, illegal things. Not only was her shed illegal, her fence was too tall, her porch extension was unapproved, and she was pocketing HOA fees for administrative work she never reported. She was running the HOA like a personal kingdom. I collected photos, timestamps, videos. I created a folder so thick it looked like a legal case file. And then, I found the one thing that would take her down for good. A missing account ledger. The HOA was required to publish quarterly financial reports. But the last 3 quarters? All delayed. So I requested them. She refused. I requested again. She threatened to fine me for harassment. But she didn't know one thing about me. I don't back down. Not when it's my family on the line. I dug deeper. I talked to old residents, tracked down former board members, and finally, one gave me the truth. Karen had kicked out every board member who disagreed with her. And she had been handling HOA funds alone. For years. She wasn't just a control freak. She was running a full-blown financial disaster behind the scenes. Now I wasn't just angry. I was motivated. I prepared everything for the showdown at the next HOA meeting. But before that day came, Karen showed up at my door, banging, screaming, waving another violation letter. My wife looked terrified. My kids cried. And as Karen shouted that she was reporting us for non-compliance, I realized something. This wasn't just about violations. She wanted to break us, control us, scare us into submission. But what she didn't know is that I had already loaded the final bullet, and I was ready to fire. The night before the HOA meeting felt like the calm before a storm. My wife kept asking me if I was sure, if this was worth it. But I looked at my kids asleep on the couch, exhausted from another day of being scolded by a grown woman with a superiority complex. I walked in with a folder under my arm, and I knew there was no turning back. Every piece of evidence neatly organized. The entire community packed the small clubhouse. More residents than I'd ever seen. Everyone looked tense, tired, fed up. I wasn't the only one she had tormented. Karen strutted in last, heels clicking like a judge entering a courtroom. She slammed her binder on the desk and began the meeting with her usual robotic announcements. When she got to violation reports, she paused dramatically and said my name. In the past 60 days, she announced loudly, this family has accumulated 17 violations. I am proposing an immediate fine increase. I didn't let her finish. I stood up and said, actually, I have some violations of my own to report. The room shifted. People whispered. Karen froze, and for the first time since I had met her, she looked unsure. I walked to the front and placed my folder on the table. These, I said slowly, are violations the HOA president has committed. Multiple, repeatedly, and intentionally. Karen's face turned red. Sit down. That's inappropriate. I opened the folder, and the room gasped. Photos of her illegal shed, her oversized fence, the unapproved porch extension, screenshots of missing financial documents, proof of thousands of dollars in unreported HOA expenses, and then the missing ledger pages I had finally tracked down. I turned to the room. For months, she has fined families for minor issues while hiding thousands of dollars of unapproved spending. She's violated more rules than anyone in this neighborhood. Karen tried to step forward, sputtering excuses. This is taken out of context. He's manipulating. But the residents weren't buying it. One after another, people stood up and shared their own stories. How she threatened them, fined them unfairly, yelled at their children, invaded their property. One elderly man said she fined him for having a flower he didn't even plant. Another woman said Karen made her cry during a home inspection. The room had turned. It wasn't her kingdom anymore. And then came the final blow. One of the former board members stood up and announced that he had filed a formal complaint with the county regarding her mishandling of HOA funds. The entire room fell silent. Karen looked like she had been hit with a tidal wave. Her authority gone. Her power gone. Her fear tactics useless. In one emotional minute that I will never forget, the residents voted unanimously to remove her from the HOA board. She was out. Done. Finished. But it didn't end there. Within a week, an audit was launched. County inspectors showed up. Her illegal shed? Ordered to be removed. Her porch? Violated. Her fence? Fined. And those missing funds? She had to pay every cent back. When she walked past my house afterward, she didn't make eye contact. She moved quietly, quickly, like a shadow that didn't want to be noticed. But the best part? The neighborhood changed. Kids played outside again. People greeted each other warmly. Laughing returned. Peace returned. And my family? We finally felt like we belonged. Because sometimes, the only way to stop a bully is to expose the truth they're terrified of. And I did exactly that.